My name is Randy Sherman. I am honored enough to be partnered with David Zucker in an enterprise called Circle Laughs, which is a venture with Sinclair Broadcasting Group. And we do comedy. And that's why I guess people are in this audience here. Why are we here? Why do comedy? Well, David and I started this to evolve the art of comedy to a higher plane and to make the world a better place because of it. Actually, we just want to make people laugh and make money, but that first bit was because we're doing a promo for corporate purposes, and so they're going to put that part in.
Corporate ideals are the loftiest ideals.
Yes,
Randy.
absolutely. But the only erudite point that I'm going to make is, why comedy? Why do people go into it? It's about the hardest thing there is to do well and consistently, because think of how many bad ones we've all seen with very good talent. But it's just the light of the world. Imagine if we didn't have little moments of laughter and lightness, what a dark and evil place this would be with what we all face every day. So we face the challenge of making good comedy to try to make it a little bit of a sunshine in a day. So we're going to play videos and have discussions about how we get there, especially in this very new world. It's just a universal touch point. And David can go on at length. Professor Zucker has a whole very good lecture about, what makes people laugh. And we all know one thing: there are certain universal touch points, no matter where in the world and where in time. I mean, Aristophanes, Shakespeare, Chaplin, Airplane. Across the world, they're still playing these things, and people over distances of centuries and years are still laughing at the exact same beat as was written way back when. So it's not all contemporary. There are obviously certain universal, integral parts of comedy that just touch the visceral nature of what makes us happy. Otherwise, look at an example. In this town, and I'm sure all of you have heard this, you hear often, "Oh, comedy doesn't travel." And that's just an obtuse comment, because we always respond, well, can you explain how a movie called The Hangover did $500 million internationally with no stars about 4 guys who went off to have a party? It seems to have hit a note across many countries, over the years. So we tell people and our children that people don't change. Technology changes, but people don't. And it's that technology that we're going to talk about, in addition to comedy, of how is it presented, distributed, monetized today that's different than it has been over the years. Tech now allows, obviously, anyone to jump over legacy media and create their own business, their own brand, their own personality. We have people on the dais today who are examples of that and work with people like that.
Mm-hmm. You didn't tell us we had to have personalities.
Well, I said some of you have different things, and of course that's not your strength. But we'll
thank
talk
you.
about your strength later.
I just want to be accurate.
Yes, no, absolutely. And so you have 13-year-old skateboarders and geeky game players who now amass greater audiences than network hit shows, and are selling their companies for upwards of $1 billion. And just 10 years ago, this was unheard of. You had to go cap in hand to an agency or a studio and hope that all the people in the middle took the bait. So there's one sure bet now, other than death and taxes, is that you did not come here to hear me speak. And so we're going to go on with the show, but we're going to do it a little differently. We're going to encourage anyone in the audience at any time, not at the end Q&A, to pipe up if something strikes their fancy or if they have a question. The panel will do the same, and we're going to drive the discussion here not with questions about what are you doing at your company, but rather videos that explain what we're talking about. The basis of pictures are worth thousands of our words. So jump in whenever, but let's play the first video.
Siri, what's the weather like today?
I don't know.
Siri, what's the weather like today?
Why don't you ask Alexa, you cheating piece of shit?
Shut up, you dumb Steve Jobs.
Seriously? Alexa, Siri, you guys gotta stop this. I like having both of you around, okay?
You don't need her. I can shop.
I can read texts.
I can play Jeopardy with you.
Wow. That's super useful.
Enough. If you two are going to continue to be so jealous, then I am going to get rid of you both. And I'll just go back to Googling stuff.
You know you're too lazy for that. You're not even wearing pants. I'm out of here.
Then why aren't you going anywhere?
I remembered I don't have free will.
It's now going to be like a really awkward moment for me to introduce the new Samsung assistant. Hey, Bigsby.
Hey, I'm the new Samsung Intelligent Assistant. I understand context.
Yeah.
You're a real dick, Dan. Dry gas munching piece of shit.
And why don't the three automatons who represented brands stand up and say hello?
Yeah.
Who created and acted that out. And there's an example of something that I'm very proud of, Circle Laughs, but, an advertising agency trying to promote a brand may have gotten, I don't know, a month and a couple of $1 million to do something like that. Our girls did it in 2 days, and we got you pizza, too, didn't we? Wasn't that the payoff? And it was basically what we do, and it's an example of what can be done with today's technology. And this went out, and how many views has this gotten, Rochelle, at this point? It's like... Yeah, 500,000, and it just went out.
Nice.
And we're not a big powerhouse like a BuzzFeed or a Super Deluxe, but even this was able to reach an audience that we actually knew who they were, and that sponsors would be thrilled to have. And David will, in another session, talk about how the two layers of comedy work together.
Well, it's a very simple idea, and it's really smartly constructed, right? The whole point of, especially Facebook-driven video, is you're trying to come up with something that's very easily digestible, a very simple idea that people can understand just by looking at it. And just by looking at the top bar there, Siri versus Alexa, if you have interacted with either of these services, you have an opinion about it. So you want to see whether or not your opinion bears fruit in this video. It almost it's a funny video, but it almost doesn't matter what happens beyond the first 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Because what you've already done in 10 seconds is gotten a 3-second view and a 10-second view on Facebook. And if you've met my opinion or you've contested my opinion in those first 10 to 15 seconds, I will likely engage with your video, either share it or comment on it or react to it to see if other people have the same feelings as me. People share things to express an opinion, whether it's because they agree with you or they're against it. And if they like any of the points that you've made about either of those services, they'll probably share it. It makes sense that it did well. Anybody else want to talk about why that video was good?
You come from Discovery Digital Networks, so you're a big legacy company, but this is sort of fresh and new, and obviously many others. How do you balance that out? So it's not just becomes corporatized and goes through the deflavorizer machine.
Well, the thing is, you can't think about. You should have a very basic idea of what your brand is, right? When Discovery Digital Networks bought the comedy brand that I worked for, SourceFed, it felt organic because we were information driven. Whatever we were talking about, it was based on a news story or a trend, which is kind of adjacent to the info-driven content that Discovery was already putting out. We just did it in a very different and comical style. I don't think you should put too much thought into a brand's identity. I think you should think about what are good ideas that people can understand. Keep it really, really simple. We didn't think about, we're Discovery, we should be talking about whales, or we should be talking about evolution, or we should be talking about science. Let's talk about what people care about, and we'll take it from there. There's no room to be precious about your brand identity when you're fighting for people to stop swiping.
I'll agree with that, and I'll add into it that when you, and this is more like a social media thing, but it uses comedy, is if anybody follows Arby's on Twitter, they are not precious at all with the perception of like what their brand is. They just know that their core consumer that they want to capture is like millennial video game playing, ironic, like or genuinely joyful like fan groups. So I don't know the artists that they get to do it, but they do a lot of video game references, and they make a lot of like little tableaus and dioramas and little characters like out of corrugated cardboard and Arby's icons and stuff like that, and share really inside like humorous references to video games and Final Fantasy and all this other stuff on the regular, along with like pro wrestling. So if you think about core consumers and stuff like that, Arby's is just saying, we kind of know who we're talking to. It's a similar mindset behind like the Jack in the Box advertisements that were like, well, let's just do something funny with puppets, or like, let's make the Jack character more subversive, because we're really not trying to sell you the food. You're kind of going to go to it if you want to go to it anyway. What we're really trying to make you do is associate what we do with like understanding you. And if that makes you laugh, that's probably the best way to do it.
Or even just being like smart and funny. What Wendy's does with their Twitter account, I think, is really smart. They just start shit, and then they get stories written up about it.
Yeah. Do you think they recognize the Wendy's waifu trend that's going on?
What is that?
Waifu?
Is that like a Japanese redheaded girl thing?
Yeah. Well, it's pretty much using like anime tropes to like kind of make the Wendy's girl like an anime character, and waifu is something that people talk about online, in which like people get obsessed with like animated characters and be like, I love them so much, I want to marry them. They're my waifu or my husbando, is the way that they describe it. So
I mean, I think if they're smart, like who their humor is appealing to, I think is maybe a more like a wider, more mainstream audience. It's maybe like not quite as reference heavy, but if they were to do a video that was in a Japanese style that was clearly referencing that trend without having to name it, without having to use the term waifu that some people are going to be like, what is that? I don't care. I think that would be very successful, because the people who just follow them because they think they're funny will share it, and the people who get it will really share.
Now, do any of these big entities, and your company, Bent Pixels, and your company, Matt, do any of them go to younger, fresher, hopefully hotter filmmakers and video makers, or does all go through the corporate siphon? Because we're trying to see how people who can come from outside the system using the technology can work their way up and develop their own brands, like the Smosh Brothers did.
Well, the division that I work for, like we produce just about everything in-house. So we're not corporate at all. Corporate basically left us alone. Like Discovery Digital corporates in San Francisco, they came down maybe 3-4 times a year, and an office of like 40 20-somethings and a couple of 30-somethings pumped out 7 pieces of content a day. So like it's just about finding people who are hungry and are willing to learn and are willing to work really hard, and then just through repetition you get experienced, and then you also learn to experiment. So like our sketch comedy channel that we produced in conjunction with YouTube Red this past year, we put out I think 80 pieces of content in 12 months. And, we did everything. We did blood effects, we did explosions, we did stop motion, we did crazy graphic effects, we did an action movie, we did romantic comedy, every possible genre, turned every room in our office into something else. Like, it's just about being able to be creative and be fast and really not care about money or time. Just like, do it cheap, but do it interesting. People don't really care about high production value as much as they care about ambition, because it's so easy to just make something with no ambition and get views. People who watch a lot of online content appreciate when they see someone trying, and it makes them more likely to watch again.
Now, Wes, you do things cheaply with passion, don't you? In your career, Wes is with The Q, and he's here. His partner and boss, Kurt Mavis, the head of it, just came back from India and is begging off, I think, some sort of gastronomic thing. But he sent a very nice substitute. And what do you do at The Q? Because that's very internationally focused, isn't it? But is it still young branded people?
Like, I think what you were saying about the skateboard videos, we actually share offices with Circa people, and I always see them in weird costumes and stuff like that, so I appreciate it. But we're taking content like that and putting it in a digital, taking digital content and putting it in a linear platform, essentially, kind of taking, like what you guys say, we're also with Sinclair Broadcasting, we have a partnership with them, so it's just a matter of, I would say that that's absolutely correct. I think people revisit the artists that we got to work with, them that we then share content, some of it is amazingly high quality and VFX heavy, like the Corridor Digitals. Then there's the things like Mike Diva and people like that we work with. And then there's some that are just like a girl who films her hamsters and puts them in weird situations. But all of these things are like, you watch all of it because there is a voice and a creativity behind the content, and it's genuine. I think it's a real thing. I think that the whole waifu thing comes out of a genuine place, right? So all of a sudden, people are identifying with it, and brands can either get with it or not.
I think we have a little example of it here.
Oh, no. Well, are you going to play that for real?
Yeah, we're really going to play it. We're embarrassing you as one of our jokes.
Yeah, here we go. This is more like a actor's reel at this point.
Sorry I'm late. I was going poop.
If you're watching this, then it means I'm super dead.
David Lopan style.
Everyone is dead!
When you say it like that, my plan sounds really stupid.
David Lopan style.
All right, I have a caveat about that. So just, Kurt's my CEO, and he basically said, "Hey, you're doing this thing on Thursday," and then he was like, "Put a video together." So I wasn't in the office because I wasn't feeling good, and the editor did that, and I was like, "Well, it's not a reel, but I guess we can show this if it's a comedy thing. At least they can see that I tried to be funny a couple times." So that's a perfect example of the exact opposite of what you were saying. I spent way too much money making a parody about my favorite movie ever, Big Trouble in Little China, even getting to the point where I got the original actor James Hong to be a cameo in it. I spent way too much money on it, thinking I was going to get rich over this thing on YouTube. Turns out they flagged me as content, right? So I spent all this money to do this thing, got views relatively cool, met a lot of weird people like me, and I did not make my money back, right?
But what did you get?
What did I get?
What did you get?
Like money-wise?
No, not money-wise. But what did you get?
That one just cleared $1 million, and then the Batman maybe
On
one.
YouTube or Facebook?
Just YouTube. This is several years ago. Facebook.
Yeah.
If I knew now what I know then, now that I'm YouTube certified and all these fun things, I would have done it very differently. I think that's how crazy this world is changing. So I did the first Batman maybe one. It was Call Me Maybe and Batman Have It a Baby, and that one I bet somebody I could get 1 million views. I did it. And I was a digital person. I wrote, acted, all these things with all these other people. Never had a YouTube presence. Wasn't really interested. And then I had all these crazy opportunities to do commercials and things like that because people liked it. And I was not prepared for that in a way. I just there was this fun thing that I did, and then all of a sudden people were like, "Do it again," and I'm like, yeah, "Okay, I'll do it again," and then I did it again, and eventually it kind of just dropped off because it's not sustainable, right? That's the hard part.
But that's the point. They didn't go to Zac Efron to do this. They went to you, and you created something new.
No one
and
went to me.
built.
I went to me.
Well, you went to you.
Yeah, and then I had a conversation with myself.
Then there's an example of one of the true kings of the little dudes that could, Zach King. Is everyone here familiar with him?
Final Cut.
Young man. He's just typifies what this panel's theme is, which is as a kid he learned how to edit, and suddenly somewhere in 2013 he starts to do 6-second vines, doing magic. And today his little tiny company, because he hasn't sold out to the big corporate guys like you, has almost 20 million Instagram followers and sponsors falling all over him. So let's see a little example of Zach, the little engine that could and still is.
I love this guy.
Yep.
That dude's crazy.
Yeah.
That's just a good ad.
Yeah.
It's a very good
It's a
ad.
very good ad. But like, I love your example of Zach, because you're talking about somebody who, like, the only barrier is a person's capacity and interest in learning how to do that. Like, he didn't know how to do that. He figured out how to do that. He does that. Now he makes a living doing that.
He was an editor before.
Right.
Yes.
But he learned how to edit.
Right.
Like,
he did.
that's, I mean, I'm just saying, like, you don't have to spend, $3,000 to get a camera. You can just use your phone and edit on your computer that you probably already have.
I think the piece that we're missing in this conversation, and we're alluding to it, kind of talking around it,
Yeah.
which is passion, right? It's the first audience is always yourself. You're making it for yourself. If it's making you laugh, then it's probably going to make somebody else laugh, right? It's like you're driving down the street and you're having this thought and it's hilarious. You're gonna call your friend and tell them about it, right? So the first video you made, Wes, you made it for yourself, right? So its success speaks about your passion more than anything else. And then somebody comes to you and says, do it again. And now there's all this pressure.
Yeah.
So, and the challenge in that, I think, is taking a step back and finding that passion again. And I think what Zach really demonstrates beautifully is that, yeah, he didn't sell out, but he didn't lose the passion. So he's doing this Tic Tac commercial with the same level of passion as he did his, initial videos, jumping into a puddle and disappearing, and putting his hand into the TV and grabbing a orange or a glass of water or whatever, and that passion, and you can see it in his facial expressions, and you can see it in the complexity of the whole thing that he has thought up. He's sitting down and saying, what do I want to see?
Yeah.
And he's doing it every single time.
And obviously, 20 million Instagram followers feel that passion too, and they feel similar. And there are a lot of young
Right, because I
examples
think
like that.
people respond ultimately to authenticity, right? They want to see that you are authentically and fully just immersed in your work. And if you love what you do, then they're going to love what you do.
Yeah.
Right? If you are just kind of doing it to get followers, people are going to feel that. And then they're going to feel, for them, it's going to feel like, oh, something's not right. I'm not jiving with this. Because they feel you're not doing it authentically. You're just wanting the followers.
Yeah.
And on the followers page, Ellie, like, that's something that has been a trend just in comedy broadly for a really long time, just with social media, is that people getting bookings based on their followings, or like, when you send in a packet to try and get a job somewhere, because like, you fund your own project, you make something yourself and you try to get it out there so that you can become more attracted to these companies. And I'm just talking about from like the career perspective of the, maybe I don't just want to work for a pizza comedian, that's like trying to like continue to grow themselves. And like, I think that what you're talking about, Ellie, like having the passion is like, you might end up doing it for a while just for yourself. And you get that small group of people that really, really care about you.
And you get really good at it.
And you just get really good at it.
You get really good at it.
But everything that's coming to Zach now is an extension of where he started and where he wanted to continue to grow and develop. And so I think that when you keep it in mind like that, if you're not pleasing yourself, then you probably shouldn't be doing it, period, because there's going to be more times than not that you're just doing it for yourself. And then even something that's a small example, like I've heard of creators, peers of mine that have gotten big opportunities, and they didn't necessarily need large views, but because they were willing to like pull in resources and get people together, that they make something that's convincing enough. You just show it to the right person or the right group, and then you go in from there, So it's either you bowl them over with the amount of influence that you have, or you just do create something that's great, but because it's out there and you're putting yourself out there and they can see the willingness to be genuine, people pick up on that.
There are other young, enthusiastic film and video makers out there who are pulling themselves up from their bootstraps. Wait a minute, we have one here, Ellie Soja, who is just, by dint of her passion and drive and intelligence, has started her own business and is working her way up. Here's an example. Does it not work? Oh, this is the one we didn't have on the feed, but here it is. Oh, God.
I'd be screaming too if I had to drink this odious muck. No wonder you didn't finish it. Try this masterpiece from the original Wine of the Month Club. Go on, take it.
This is really good.
Of course it's good. The leather finish always has your back. And to think, for the same money that you pay for that garbage, you could be drinking this. Breaks my heart. You put some clothes on, will you?
Well, that's good. Now, Ellie, how long did it take you, obviously not the pre-production, but to actually do that and cut it? How long did it take you to actually shoot that and cut
So
it?
that was one day of production. So our client is, what we do is we make commercials for hire, basically. And our client is the Wine of the Month Club. They came to us, they wanted to expand into a new demographic, which is millennials, a younger crowd, because most people who have a Wine of the Month Club membership, they're older. And so that character is the owner, is Paul Kalamkiarian, and he's the owner, and he came to us with this idea. He wanted to expand into this new market, and he had multiple ideas he was kind of like throwing around, and we helped him figure out how to do this, what to do. And he actually barges in on people's most intimate moments, on like a date, on dinner parties, and he lectures them about how bad their wine is, and in the shower. And he's great. And I just think it's so fun to be able to take something and make it funny and make it compelling and bring value, but then and tell a story all at once in 30 seconds or 60 seconds. It's just such a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
He looks like he's a guy straight out of like Law and Order.
Yeah, he's
like,
great. He texted me over the weekend, and he says, I'm in Vegas with my wife, and I found a suit that this character needs. And he sends me this picture. It's like this gaudy, jacket with embroiders, and I'm like, yeah, go for it. We'll do 1,000 of these.
I think it's a really funny video, and I think it also speaks to exactly what you're saying of just the passion of making videos.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're now making a video for a brand, but you're still making videos with the same humor that you've used in all of your other material. Like I think a lot of the key problems that people, when they want to work in traditional media and see videos as a means to an end, the problem is like it reads in the work. Like no one really wants to make videos, or a lot of comedians don't want to make videos. They just want to get noticed so someone will pay them to make a TV show or make a movie. And why should I care about your video that's clearly like passionless when I can watch Ellie's stuff that clearly is like funny and has a sensibility, and like she actually cares about the product. Like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely right. And that passion, and the model for us is happiness. That's like the business model, right? So it's if the client is happy and the client's clients are happy and the team is happy, then you create this synergy. It enters you into the vortex, and magic happens. You come up with really brilliant ideas, you save time, you save money, you come ahead of time, and you deliver everything, and everybody along the way feels a sense of ownership of the project, from all the way from the director and the DP to the PA, to the sound designer and the colorist. Like everybody just feels like they're part of this magical moment in time. And I find that when you achieve, the only way to achieve that is through happiness. When people are happy, and when you achieve that, it's just so beautiful. And I think as content creators, there's so much content out right now. As content creators, I believe we have a responsibility to create good content. You know, if production value, you know, if you have to shoot it on your phone, fine, but make sure the writing is good, make sure the messaging is good, make sure there is some kind of a value that you are providing to the audience. And a lot of times that value can be comedy and humor, and sometimes it's even beyond a step further.
Well, we have another example of a very young up-and-comer, a little digital acorn, who uses comedy and is now creating a little empire for herself.
Oh, slime.
A lot of people like my slime. They say it's different and really out there. I don't know why people are buying it, but I guess it's just really addicting to poke and make sounds. My name is Caitlin Nguyen. I live in Virginia. I'm 13, and I make Slimers. Slimers is just something that the community came up with for people that make their own slimes and then post it on the internet and then sell it. I have 180,000 followers, and I get about 60,000 views per video.
I sell batches of slime for $6 to $12 each. I've made a total of about $5,000 from my slime sales.
Now let's go post this slime on Instagram. The money from Etsy, my parents want me to save for college, but I kind of just want to spend it on like a stand mixer to mix my slime so it's like a lot faster. Kids sell slime in their lockers, then they're like, oh, if you want to buy my fluffy slime, and it's like $3. I make slime every day, and I think it's fun. Oh my gosh, this is tiring.
That's cute.
My niece is obsessed.
Now, what were y'all
with
doing
slime.
when you were 13?
Yeah.
Was car wash, bake sale? She has millions and millions of views, her own business, and is selling samples of this stuff. It's quite remarkable.
But she doesn't care about the money.
She doesn't
Can
care.
someone explain to me slime? My nieces are so obsessed with this thing.
That's exactly the point.
I tried poking it and rolling it.
I know.
And it just like,
I know.
You know.
I still am mystified by the internet, so I think
It's
it's
probably
remarkable. But what about that,
yeah.
Sam and Wes? You're with not huge companies, but with companies. Is there room in there for little digital acorns like this to grow up?
Absolutely. I think one of the things I was going to mention, because Ellie was talking about going from kind of like the brand side to the content side and making stuff that feels engaging, is that a lot of the times with like branded content, when we think of as, you know, the word in the industry is influencer marketing, going directly to people that have social feeds, that have social video, and trying to like capture them for your brand's sake, or try to do a sponsorship or an integration that doesn't feel too salesy and still is in line with like the kind of stuff that they would be making anyway.
Yeah.
And what you end up becoming a lot of the times, if you're a company like the one that I work for, it's like your job as a creative is to be a bit of a translator and to kind of make them understand like, well, why would we do a video with this person? And so little stuff like that where it's like, you know, we see that and we go, oh, it's got this and this and this, and like there's an angle to it here, and that's awesome. And like, you know, so the creator doesn't really interpret their own work. You know, maybe they do sometimes. They kind of like determine like this path they want to walk down. But then we're like the intermediaries that have to see the angle. And then we got to communicate that to the brand to get them to understand like, you don't get it. You should probably do something with this person, because they would be so excited to feel like anybody showing interest, because all that drives that little girl's world is like, I'm making some money, but it's more important to her that people likes the things that she makes.
Yes, I think that's it. Like the
I mean, she is 13, not 31, but you know,
like she's
her reasoning is
real.
different. Her passion is different, and whether you're 13 or 31, you got to have that passion, and people got to invest in you as a person, which I think is really like. For those kind of creators too, because she's not, I didn't mean to like just bowl over, but for those kind of creators too, they're making like a physical good. She has like a specific thing that she does. She's not like, well, I'm a writer, so I want to be a comedy writer. You know, she's like, it's just her personality, it's what she makes, and that's what makes it happy. That's what makes it positive.
She's just sharing the thing that she loves to do and loves to make, and it happens to be that it's something that she can sell. Like even like she says, like I'm not going to use the money towards my college education. I'm going to use it so I can make even more of this stuff that I love to make. Yeah. I'd never heard of sliming until this second.
This very moment, me too.
But I immediately get it. Because it's like gack, but a kid can make it.
Because you're a 12-year-old girl inside?
Exactly.
And at Circle Last, we actually specialize in 31-year-olds being like 13. In fact, we have an example of one now.
You be good, Jonathan. Bye.
This is true passion.
Yeah, I've got an orange cat. Wait, what?
And we have our two adult 13-year-olds here. Stand up, Ryan. Stand up, Joe. They're besieged by love letters from our cat lady fans across the country for this. But this is an example of these guys were probably doing stuff like that. I know they were when they were 15, and now they've just evolved it. Is there room in the companies, Matt, like Discovery, for people who say they were back when they were 17, or that nice girl?
Sure.
How is a big company like Discovery letting them in, or do they even need to go?
I don't think anyone needs to work for a big company. Like, if you're able to support yourself doing the thing that you like and you continue to do it consistently, you will eventually be able to support yourself doing the thing. Like, we live in a media economy where people don't really care what the thing is anymore. If it's a movie, a TV show, a video, a photo, like we have the ability to completely curate what we engage with every single day. Like my Instagram feed, I have 4 guinea pigs. My Instagram feed is like mostly guinea pigs and food.
You want to get on your handle?
Yeah, exactly. I really am. But my point is, like, the people who are posting all that guinea pig stuff just post guinea pig stuff every day because they like guinea pigs, not because they're trying to sell something, but they've grown. I know one account grew from 13,000 followers to over 200,000 followers in just the last 8 months because I track this stuff. Like, eventually, if a brand wanted to work with them, or if they wanted to monetize that account, they could without having to really change the core concept of their content. Like, I don't think anyone has to go work for a company to do the thing that they like, because you're just going to get paid to do what they want to do. Do the thing that you love to do. Now, oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's like, there's 2 sides to it, right? The first thing is, like, House of Cards is a web series. Like, I personally, I tell people never to call their web series a web series, just call it a digital series or a scripted series, because web series makes it sound amateurish. I think if the concept is strong enough and the execution is strong enough, and you can get some blog pickup, like people, critics or people that audiences trust say that it's good, people will come and find the thing. I think that when you call something a series, at least like on YouTube or Facebook, you tend to have audience fall off, right? People think if they see episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, they can't just jump in anywhere. They have to go back and start with your pilot to understand anything. So they get intimidated and they don't watch it at all. But if it's an anthology, if someone can just watch one of your episodes just as a video and think it's really good, they'll watch all of your episodes, even out of order, because they know no matter which one they watch, they'll be entertained. So I think length is not as huge of an issue as people make it out to be. It's accessibility. Make it so that people can pick up any one of your episodes and enjoy it the same as if they had watched the first one.
I'll lean into that too and say, like, it is about, like, presentational, the format, you know? So it's like, use the strength of what the platform is. Like, discoverability on Facebook video is still not, like, super high, but if you, like, what I mean by discoverability is, like, you start watching a video and then you know how, like, now it auto-completes and it's just gonna, like, scroll up a second thing to watch. So unless you're making, like, a playlist specifically on your Facebook page, you can't guarantee that people are just gonna stick to your page's video content. And then the only other thing I'd toss in before, I know Ellie wants to say something too, is on YouTube, like the watch time algorithm, if you guys aren't already aware, it's like it already favors longer content.
Yep.
So if you have an aspiration, like you want to do a longer tail series, or you want to do like, this is straight up a 22-minute pilot that I'm going to produce, you know, I don't want to do 12, I want to do 22. Awesome. Then just put the whole damn thing on there, you know. I think people put a lot of emphasis on attention spans because we think that people just constantly do this, which they do. But they'll stop doing that if they like what you're doing. And if they feel like they can watch the whole thing or majority of the thing, I think audiences have changed it a little bit. I'm going to put my stamp on it, that people will watch longer than 8 minutes. They'll watch 12 minutes and 22 minutes. And if you want to see how really like traditional kind of stuff gets made for the modern thing, I'd say look at Super Deluxe and look at Vice. Like Vice Media, I know that they're a news organization, but that was the first time I thought, like, I could sit on this website all day and watch their 20-minute documentaries about weed, weird, like, drug stuff, and then also, like, some insightful thing about a niche community in Nicaragua. You know, like, it's so great because they're making it and they know you're going to go there and you're going to enjoy it.
Actually, I want to talk about that real fast. I'd like to get your guys' comment on Super Deluxe because they rebranded themselves, right, recently, and we're around back in 2007 was their first iteration, and they've recently come back. And the best way I can do, like, I don't know how any brand would touch that stuff personally.
Yeah, full disclosure, my company helped launch their YouTube presence.
So you're the right person to talk to about it.
They were, and you know, I don't want to disclose anything that obviously I can't disclose because I don't, you know. But
don't worry.
Fact of the matter,
we're
all friends.
It's just here.
Yeah. They were really committed from the very beginning of working with the diversity of creators, and like kind of to Matt's point about like just do the thing that you want, and then if you work for a company or not, whatever. Like they were very big on getting freelancers. You mentioned Mike Diva earlier as well,
or like Vic Berger.
Vic Berger, who
Vic's
like
awesome.
all those re-edits. That's just great. We talk about editing, you know, with Zach King.
He's like Zach King of
right.
that world.
If you've ever watched any like Trump parody video that's happening out there, where it's
Or
like re-edited, Steve Harvey, yeah, like really funny stuff where he's just taking the content and he's using all of his editing know-how to make it so farts are coming out of their mouths and stuff like really like that kind of stuff. But to your point, how do brands want to work with this group? I think that brands need to become, less sensitive about what they think that people accept or not. I think the modern day consumer understands that Johnson & Johnson isn't endorsing the thing that its commercial runs ahead of. Well, if that so happens to happen, I think it just happens.
Yeah, it's almost like TV rules being applied to the internet, and that's just really
really false. I'm going to say right now it's straight up false.
That's interesting.
I think Vic Berger is a great example, and Super Deluxe is a great example of a company that knows how to work with creators because they let him put his name on it.
Yeah.
Every single video, it's by Vic Berger. So like, I thought of those videos as Super Deluxe videos, but when I would talk to my students, like I teach a digital comedy class, they would say, oh, a Vic Berger video. They don't think of it as Super Deluxe, they think of it as Vic Berger. But because Super Deluxe puts out these Vic Berger videos that they like, they're far more likely to like their Facebook page, subscribe to their YouTube channel, and watch their other content. Like they have won fans of this particular type of content that they're producing consistently, but they have a variety of different things and different tones, and if people like the one thing, they might be willing to try the other stuff, and soon enough they're interfacing with all of their videos.
And that's one thing, the combining of brands that people feel excuse me, are relatable to them, but also we're having fun with it is something that we always try to do, texture it with a couple of layers instead of just one theme. We have an example of that.
Oh, Elliot, I didn't know if I could.
Can I chime in on the
I'm
web
sorry,
series?
Ellie. Sorry.
I actually host a podcast called Web Series MD, and we talk to a lot of creators, short-form content creators. And the question I would ask for you, I actually agree with Sam that the length doesn't...
Finally.
I know. The length doesn't matter. People are consuming all different lengths of videos. And actually, my nieces, they watch videos that are like 12, 13, 14 minutes long, and they're just people going through their days. It's really bizarre. But that's another thing I don't understand. But my question to you would be, how long does your video have to be? And don't make it longer than that. Don't say, I want to do a 22-minute because that's the standard, and I'm going to fill those 22 minutes, right? So figure out what is your concept, and maybe your episodes are 12 minutes. Maybe your episodes are 7 minutes. And see if you can stay consistent, because that consistency is ultimately what matters most, right? If you can tell the story in 12 minutes every time, and if you have ambition to become a TV writer, that tells, the showrunner, it tells the writers that you can, do it consistently. You can tell the same type of story multiple times in the same amount of, in the same duration, and in the same way. And each episode can be completely different and compelling, as television is, right? Yeah. So, but don't feel like 22 minutes, 30 minutes, 15. Don't start with that. Start with what your show is.
Yeah.
Good point. That's good.
Can I jump in on that? Just Issa Rae, who does Insecure now on HBO, her web series Awkward Black Girl from like years ago. I think when the episode started in the first season, it kind of varied a little bit. It was like between 8 and 14 minutes each episode. And then I believe they did a second season, and I think every single one was like close to 12. Yeah. And then she got her first pilot deal and her second, and now Insecure. Yeah.
It's just a different level of professionalism that you're communicating. Just, when you look at somebody sends you a Word document, the way it's formatted is just as important as, there's no typos or mistakes or whatever, right? If you look at the page and already the formatting is off, then you take them less seriously. The same thing. It's like if I look at your series and without looking at any of the content, there's some level of consistency and I can see it, then already I think, oh, she knows what she's doing.
And from an optimization standpoint, if you're putting the content out there, and I think this goes, make sure your thumbnail looks good, make sure your title makes sense, and make sure that the first 2 lines of your description are really nice and they kind of describe the content, that the tags that you're using are the accurate tags, because it'll be all about the presentation. It's the same thing as if you're spell checking, a script that you send or something like that, I would say. And the other factor too is, like you said, the consistency. People will, if you catch them in the first 10 seconds, like we've been talking about, the swipe generation, the Tinder finger, whatever I've heard, that's a really weird way of saying that. What I'm trying to say is when you're on your mobile. Anyway, so like you're swiping. So like you catch them in the first seconds, great. But then what do you do at minute 2? And what do you do at minute 4? It's like any good story, You make sure that your concept is clear, and that every moment that passes that you're continuing to give the audience a reward for continuing to invest more of their precious time into your stuff.
Yeah, and engage with your audience. Like, if you're making videos, every positive comment, like when you're first starting out, respond to every positive comment. Reward positive behavior. YouTube is a community-driven platform. Like, people want to like you. They want to feel like they know you. And they'll have more attachment to your material if they feel like you care about them, too. Yeah. Anyway.
Very true.
And then the use of, like we were saying before, the use of relatable scenarios and brands in a clever way that combines it in a way that's not ordinary is compelling in itself. They may not know why they like it, but it seems familiar. And we have an example.
In the arms of the angel, far away from this. Oh my God.
Hi, I'm Sarah McLaughlin. Will you be an angel for a helpless NFL fan? Every January, innocent NFL fans are left without teams to root for in the postseason because their teams weren't good enough to make it. Their hopes and dreams of a Super Bowl championship are shattered, and they're crying out for help. Please, call the number on your screen below to adopt a fan. For just $18 a month, only 60 cents a day, you can bring a displaced NFL fan into your home and show him or her what it's like to root for a winner. Call within the next 30 minutes and you'll receive this welcome kit with a photo of NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell giving you a thumbs up. Right now, there's a hapless NFL fan with nothing to look forward to on Super Bowl Sunday except the commercials. Call now to give a sad fan a team to root for.
That's awesome.
Yours.
Yes, that's good.
That's great.
I'm from St. Louis, and I'm offended that the Rams were not on there. But now it's all of our problems, so I guess it's okay.
Are there any questions out there for our esteemed panel? Yes, ma'am. Oh.
I got one.
Yeah.
Wes, go for it.
Yeah, so I got flagged for, I did, first parody I did, I just basically ripped a karaoke track, right? It was Call Me Maybe. Got flagged. I was like, all right, cool, I deserve that one. But they left it alone. Second one, I redid Gangnam Style with a new orchestra, enough of what I felt talking to a rights person that I was changed enough to be its own intellectual property, I guess, whatever. Still got flagged. I didn't respond to it within that 2 to 14 minutes. Now they have an opportunity now to either do one of three things. They can say, I want to take down your video, I want to do nothing, or I want to monetize it. So the person that's a right holder, say in this one, Universal Music Group, now makes ads play in front of my video and they get all the money. So that's one of three scenarios that could happen. Now, at that point, like, was I really going to make the budget back on YouTube views? No, but at least it got to stay up there. So it's kind of a wash for me.
Yeah. We did a video that was straight out of Compton Kids Bop. We had a musician friend make sound-alike karaoke tracks of like 4 NWA songs, and they sounded different enough that the content ID system didn't pick them up. I think just like a good rule of thumb, if you're planning on monetizing videos on YouTube, is to not use licensed material. Like if the core joke in your video is so dependent on a piece of music or a video that you don't own, then it doesn't belong on YouTube. You can still get away with it. Like Instagram's the Wild West. If it's short enough that it's like less than a minute, you can get away with whatever you want on Instagram. Facebook, their content ID system is becoming more sophisticated.
I just would, on that point, don't do it on Facebook because there's no appeal system right now. So if that gets in a weird area and you don't know why your video got taken down, like they don't even give you an explanation now. So I just want to chime in on that really quick. So don't even attempt it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Good to know. We had a.
Sorry, I didn't mean it.
No, please. That was vital. Yeah. Please. Go.
So Zoe Katz is this girl we had on my podcast. And she has a web series, My Dead Ex-Girlfriend, and it's dolls. It's Barbie dolls. She just like plays with them and does their voices, and it's the most ridiculous thing. And she put all sorts of copyrighted music in there, and because she was passionate about this project, and she was just playing with dolls and putting it on the internet, and got thousands and thousands of views. She actually got a job at Disney with her web series, but she had to go back and buy all the rights to all the music. And it was
awesome,
just,
you're official. Now pay us our licensing fee.
Now pay us. But it's don't do it if you can avoid it.
I also think that there's a lot of things that are protected under parody, obviously. So know what your rights are and know what the music holders are. But I agree with you. I mean, that's why if you're doing a celebrity right and you don't want to get like libel and stuff like that, you got to be careful about that anyway. But you change the spelling of the name or you make it so that it's a different character. But boy, they sure sound like Woody Allen. You know what I mean? Like it's that kind of thing.
A parody covers all manner of sin.
But how did you handle it, Randy, at Circa?
What's that? We are very careful. We use a music library for music rights. We've been tagged in the past for music that we didn't think was even in in the ballpark, but as you say, Facebook, which is where most of our videos are consumed, just shuts you down. You know, there are no one to talk to.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
a better chance at the DMV.
That's going to change and develop, but there's already been stories about that happening. And
You know everything that's happening at Facebook?
Oh my God! No.
Oh my gosh. Are you like a spy, Facebook spy?
Yeah,
Well-
I've really infiltrated things.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole new crop of young people coming up who, as a story we heard the other day, an 8-year-old said to his grandfather, "Grandpa, how did you get the internet before you had cell phones?" They just think air, water, light, fire, internet. And this is going to be the world that they're going to create their own brand and personality and business in. And we have a clip of an up-and-coming one, although we have all rights to his stuff coming up, so please, no idea.
Right.
Stitches
Yes.
on my teeth.
Yeah. Don't touch it. Don't.
Why can't I touch it?
Because it'll mess up the stitches.
You have 4 eyes.
Yeah.
I feel funny. Why is this happening?
It's okay, bud. It's just from the
Poor
medicine. Okay?
Is this going to be forever?
No. No, it won't be forever.
So good.
Look forward to the next edition of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, panel. You were great. Stay tuned. The next panel is VR and comedy, 360-degree comedy. Let's see what they say, because no one knows what's going on.